Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Star Wars Legends Lounge, the show that celebrates the books from Star Wars Legends. I'm Aaron Motes. On today's episode, we return to the Legacy of the Force series. Ben Skywalker and the Jedi Order try to help Luke overcome his grief following the murder of his wife, Mara, as Han and Leia go on a recruiting tour, trying to rally support against the Galactic Alliance. Meanwhile, Darth Caedus ramps up his campaign to maintain order, and he's willing to go to lengths that would have disgusted Jason Solo. It's Inferno by Troy Denning, book number 6 in the Legacy of the Force series. And joining me today to talk about the book is my buddy Scott. Scott, you're back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. You and I chatted for a bit before recording, and I'm feeling so good. I love talking to you, man. So excited.
Sports Talk listener, before we really get into the meat of the episode, Scott, since you were last on, the MLS postseason started. Your boys, Real Salt Lake, they snuck into the Western Conference playoffs as the 9 seed, but lost the wild card game to Portland. So, what did you think of the season overall, and were you disappointed at how it ended?
Man, it's been a long time since I was like really excited about Real Salt Lake. It feels like we're middling every year, and that was what it felt like to begin this year. Like I was not surprised by the season. We were middle of the table. That's basically what I expected, and it's what we achieved. We had a good, like, we did have a good run of games in July. I think it was about when we talked last time, where I was like a little hopeful, and they did make a push to squeeze into the playoffs and get in there, but we didn't have enough firepower. Like all season, it was not enough goals, right? Like I think we were dead last, I think, in the Western Conference in goals.
Yeah, specify
We
Western Conference because my DC United, I believe, was
No, way
last in
worse.
goals.
Yeah,
We were
I didn't want
last.
to rub it in. I didn't want to rub it in. That's why I specified Western Conference. I didn't want to rub it in. Uh, but we only got one goal against Portland in the one game playoff that we got. So Portland's a good team defensively, especially. They also actually were pretty anemic at scoring, better than your DC United, and also slightly better than my Real Salt Lake, but pretty bad themselves. But defensively, they were very good. So I wasn't surprised when we scored one goal, but we conceded three, which was not in the DNA of our team. Usually, we're pretty good defensively as well. So if we're going to give up 3 goals, yeah, we're not winning. So disappointed. Yeah, I guess everyone likes to win, but not surprised at all. I guess, like if there's a silver lining, the good news is that we got a couple of new attackers in. We got a little bit of time to evaluate them. One seems pretty good, Olutunji, I think. One seems pretty bad. Juan Cruz did nothing in like hundreds of minutes of action, no goals, no assists, nothing. But hopefully it was enough to like evaluate those guys and decide what to do for next year. Hopefully they can take a next step forward. But you know what? My biggest thing, Aaron, is it was good to feel again
Oh, it
because
always is nice to feel.
I watched the playoff match and I was reminded of how much I loathe Diego Chara. And that fueled me for like a week. I was like, man, I hate that guy.
He's a master of the dark arts.
Yes, he could be a sneaky Sith apprentice that might rise to the level of Sith Master because he's just brutal.
Do you anticipate RSL selling Luna at some point? I don't mean within MLS. I'm saying, do you think
Oh
Luna
yeah, like for a big
has
contract.
thoughts of going over to Europe?
I imagine he does. I mean that's the nature of MLS, right? It's still as much as we love it, it's still a springboard league, right? And I imagine he would like to get somewhere else at some point. Um, maybe he'll be a flagship icon of the franchise and stay and decide he likes where he is. I kind of doubt it. I love watching him. He's very fun. He's a bit of a spark plug. It would be interesting to see how he does at a bigger level. because he is small. He has weaknesses in his game for sure that are perhaps not as exploited here as they might be elsewhere, and he might disappear at a bigger stage. And so he might know that. He might be self-aware and see that. But, from what I know about young athletes, which I got to admit is little. It's not like I have vast experience with this, but
most of them do want to test themselves
they
against
want to
better
test
players.
themselves. They want to explore and see, and I don't blame them for that. So yeah, I would expect he would leave. I would expect he would want to leave. We love having him, of course. He's fantastic and fun and exciting, and he wears the tiniest shin guards, like they wouldn't even fit on a 2-year-old, really. But yeah, we love him. Hopefully he stays, but I expect him to leave.
And it appears that while I don't think he would be a starter on the full national team, it does look like he has at least made enough hay with the national team to be on the roster next year during the World Cup.
He made some inroads. As you and I both know, the World Cup roster is it's a tenuous thing, right? They're exploring people.
Sure, it's fluid. Injuries
up and
happen all the time, but he at least seems to be someone that Pochettino likes to bring off the bench. And you can use the World Cup as a springboard to a bigger league somewhere.
He can. It really depends to me, and it's a common thing with football, right? Like, how do you take your club, your club experience, and your club personality, and meld it into a national space, right? Diego Luna cannot play at the national level like he plays at the club level. He has to find a way to use his skills at that place in the national side that maximizes his potential and gets him that audition in the international stage. So I think he certainly could do it, but he's got to be, I don't know him, right? Like, is he smart enough to take his skills and meld them to use them in the right ways to get that exposure? Maybe. He's definitely in consideration for the side. I'll be excited to see if he makes it.
Listener Scott and I could talk all day about our favorite sports, our terrible sports teams. Scott at least has the Detroit Lions, who seem to be playing pretty well again. But
I do. And you didn't even mention my Arizona Wildcats.
Yeah.
They, on the first day of the season, they beat the Florida Gators, the defending national champions.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Yeah.
They look good, man. They look good.
But, Scott, I don't think the listeners are here to sit here with us talking not just sports in general, but our sports.
This isn't a sports podcast?
No. And believe me, on our next episode, when Jay comes back, we're going to have a whole segment dedicated to the World Series.
The Jays, man, they broke my heart. I was rooting for them.
Exactly.
Oh,
tremendous series, by the way. Tremendous
a great series. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I watched every inning except the last 6 of that 18-inning affair. I wasn't staying up that late.
You did better than me. I watched a lot, but I didn't watch every inning for sure.
All right, let's head into listener questions, Scott, and get this show on a roll. Would you please take the first question?
Yeah, it comes from Josh. I just found your podcast, and I am loving it. As a long-haul truck driver, I'm always looking for new podcasts and audiobooks. I've built up quite a few credits on Audible, and thanks to you, I'm getting back into Legends. I just finished your podcast on The Rise of Darth Vader. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they mention DNA reprogramming on Camino? I know it was not specifically saying an inhibitor chip. I might have misheard you or misunderstood you when you mentioned the clones just not following Order 66.
Well, thank you very much for the question, Josh. I probably did mention DNA reprogramming. I'm not sure if when I said that I was talking about the inhibitor chip or not. The inhibitor chip in canon, we learned, was organic, so that could be some sort of manipulated DNA. But most of the DNA manipulation I remember about the clones pertains to the accelerated aging process that they go through. I don't know if exactly that's what you're talking about, Josh, but as far as I know, the DNA manipulation involves the fact that their age progresses much more quickly. Their constitution seems to be more resilient to injuries and disease. As far as the inhibitor chips go, that might be some sort of manipulated DNA, but all we know is that the inhibitor chip is some sort of organic compound. So, thank you very much for the email. Today's second email comes from Samuel. Samuel says, "Hello, Aaron. I recently got into a bit of a Terminator phase and thought it would be fun to see a comic of a Star Wars/Terminator crossover. I got a kick out of imagining an Arnold Schwarzenegger T-800 carrying an actual baby Yoda, not Grogu, on his back, like Luke training in The Empire Strikes Back. That's one thing I wish Star Wars would do more often, having crossover events. I know it wouldn't be a canon story, but just have some fun with it. So, my question is, if you could get a Star Wars crossover with another IP, what would it be?" Well, Scott, since I took the first question, why don't you take this one? Would you like to see some sort of Star Wars crossover?
Well, sure. I mean, listen, let me start with, I'm not a huge fan of crossovers. I feel like, man, a story is meant to tell a story. It's meant to be contained within its own universe and be within the author's themes and motivations and desires for a complete tale that matches within its own sphere. And so crossovers are always, to me, a little bit concerning. They might be, conceding some ground on the universe that they're built in. But I do feel like there are ways that you can extract parts of your universe and let them commingle with others and not disrupt the storytelling of the greater universe. And so my answer is Firefly. Firefly got one season. It's from the maligned Joss Whedon, and I maligned him as well. And he has many faults and all those things that we don't need to go into here. But Firefly itself was a fantastic sci-fi series that lasted one season. It was a space cowboy adventure, and I feel like Han and Leia, with or without Chewie, could go in an adventure with the Firefly crew and create some fun havoc and a good comedic dynamic, and it would be a great in and out way to merge these two things. So like a long lasting kind of relationship between these two things, no, but like a little engagement, sure, that could be fun. Firefly. If you don't know what Firefly is, geez, go find it because it's amazing. Also, Joss Whedon sucks.
I think you like Firefly more than I do. I will say this.
Like more than most. Too,
I will say this. I did enjoy, I don't think it was great, but I did enjoy the movie Serenity that came out later.
Serenity's good. Yep.
I think I preferred the movie to the series myself. Like Scott said, Samuel, I'm not big into crossover events either, particularly ones that are crossovers, like Scott said, from other universes. Now, if it's something within the same universe, I don't have that much of an issue with it. Scott, I'm going to date us right now.
I'll date you anytime, Aaron.
One example. Friends and Mad About You. Remember Phoebe and Ursula.
Yeah.
Occasionally, they would be on the other show.
Sure.
That's the type of crossover I don't mind.
Quick, in and out, without much consequence.
Yeah. The other one, because I know it's also on Earth, but the one that I don't know how much it worked for me or not, was the X-Files episode the Cops episode of the X-Files.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it was a later episode in the season. The X-Files sort of did a Cops episode. I don't really know how much that one worked for me, but at least it didn't, quote unquote, violate some, other realm, other universe, other dimension type thing. But
it feels like that would violate the Cops universe, given that one is fiction and one is supposed to be real.
I guess, but
But okay.
at least the X-Files takes place on Earth, you know?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
so
And
I don't know.
supposedly Cops does too, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I honestly can't think of any crossover that I would actually like to see. Of course, the one most Star Wars fans, at least the ones that read the comics, know of is the one. It was a one shot from 2009, and I think I talked about it on the TK331 podcast with Thomas and Crystal. There is a one shot comic where Han and Chewie take the Falcon. They go through a wormhole. They end up in our dimension. They crash land in the Pacific Northwest. Han dies in the crash. Chewie becomes the
Oh my gosh. The Yeti of the Northeast or the Northwest.
yeah, Chewie, I guess, is basically what the natives in the area base the Sasquatch myth around, seeing Chewie in the woods. And decades to 100 years later, the wreckage of the Falcon is found by Indiana Jones.
This sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard of.
It's a one shot. It's a comedy one shot. That's all it is. It's not meant to be anything serious. It's not meant to be anything more than what it is. It's just sort of a comedy one shot.
I need a minute for my blood pressure to just calm down. But okay.
That's the only one that I can think of, except the tremendous Star Wars Muppets crossover on the Muppet Show back in 1978. When Luke Skywalker and C-3PO are on the Muppet Show. Yeah, that one I'm all for. But other crossovers, I'm sorry, Samuel. I really don't have much interest in them.
Aaron, I want to thank you for making me feel young, because in 1978 I was not yet in the womb. So thank you.
That was my birth year, so it wasn't like I saw it live. I saw it on repeat, 8 to 10 years later. So anyway, thank you again for the emails, Josh and Samuel. Now, listener, if you have a question for the show, you can send me an email at swlegendslounge@gmail.com or send me a message on Blue Sky, Instagram, or Twitter at swlegendslounge. And if you'd like to get your voice on the show, you can record a short message and email it in, but please record it in MP3 audio format. Now, coming up at the end of the show, Scott and I have a Star Wars football/soccer team to share with everyone. You want to stick around for that. But now, it's time for today's book, Inferno by Troy Denning. Book number 6 in the Legacy of the Force series. Listeners, grab yourselves a drink. Let's head in to the Star Wars Legends Lounge.
The story begins on the Anakin Solo. Ben Skywalker has returned to Luke and the Jedi Order following the murder of Mother Mara Jade Skywalker. Now, Darth Caedus needs to find another prospect for his apprentice. He turns his sights on Tahiri Vela, and uses her feelings for Jacen Solo's younger brother to manipulate her allegiance to him. Caedus flow walks Tahiri back to the moment before Anakin died during the Yuuzhan Vong War. Tahiri pushes her younger self into a kiss with Anakin. Tahiri's attachment to Anakin's memory disgusts Caedus, but for now, he decides to use it to start training Tahiri in the ways of the dark side.
On Coruscant, the Jedi hold a funeral for Mara, and for the first time since the beginning of the war, Han and Leia return to the capital. Leia plans to deliver Mara's eulogy, but she and Han are stopped from entering the Jedi Temple by the GAG, who try to arrest them. Han and Leia resist Jason's troops. They fight their way back to the Falcon and escape the planet. The funeral begins a few minutes later, with Mara's body displayed in the center of the temple auditorium. Master Saba Sibatine steps in for Leia to speak. As she begins, Jason arrives and stands next to Luke and Ben. Jason can feel his cousin's anger, but Luke tells Ben it's okay. Jason can pay his final respects to Mara. But when Saba begins speaking again, Mara's body disappears, returning to the Force. Luke and the other masters believe Mara's spirit is finally at peace. But Ben thinks they're wrong. He knows they're wrong. His mother waited for this exact moment to become one with the Force after Jason arrived.
After the funeral, Ben confronts Jason in his office. "Did you kill Mom?" he demands. Cadus denies Ben's accusation, but he can tell his former apprentice doesn't believe him. So, Cadus decides to send his cousin looking in another direction. He tells Ben that former Chief of State Cal Omus was maneuvering against the Jedi Council. Cadus plays a recording for Ben where it sounds like Omus hired someone to attack Luke. That night, Ben confronts the former Chief of State in his apartment. Omus says he knew Jason would have him killed sometime, but he didn't think he'd send Ben to do it. Ben says he's not there to kill Omus. He says his cousin killed his mother. But he wants Omus to know that Jason is coming for him. Just then, guards start trying to break down the apartment's blast doors. Quickly, Omus orders Ben to ignite his lightsaber. He lunges forward, impaling himself on Ben's blade. "Now's your chance to get to Jason," he shouts. "Run!" Ben escapes just before the guards enter the apartment. He disappears into the night as the apartment explodes behind him.
Han and Leia travel to Kashyyyk to try to persuade the Wookiees to join the Confederation. At first, the Wookiees are reluctant to listen to the Solos, but soon Luke arrives and says the Jedi can no longer support the Galactic Alliance as long as Jason is in charge. Luke's speech moves the Wookiees, and the ruling council begins discussing whether or not to secede from the Galactic Alliance.
Elsewhere, Jaina Solo, Zek, and Jag Fell are on the hunt for Alema Rar. Luke believes the Twi'lek is the one who murdered Mara. The three follow the former Jedi to the Jedi Academy on Ossus, but Alema escapes before they can catch her. However, the group discovers something else on Ossus. Jason has taken control of the Jedi Academy, and he's holding the students hostage under the command of Major Sail Serpa, a man who's either sadistic or insane. Jaina and Jag infiltrate the academy while Zeke hides in reserve. Jaina sets to work, freeing the students and teachers, while Jag eliminates the guards. Serpa begins executing the teachers, but Jaina and the Free Jedi arrive and defeat Serpa's troops. The Major holds a blaster to one of the students and tries to use her as a human shield, but Zek sneaks up from behind and slices Serpa's arm off.
Alema Rar travels to the Sith world of Korriban, where the meditation sphere takes her to the ancient valley of the Sith. He finds a group that calls themselves the One Sith, a group of Dark Lords who helped Lumaya recruit Jason Solo to the dark side of the Force. Alema says now that Lumaya is dead, she will help Jason. But the One Sith are not impressed with the new Darth Cadus. Maybe, they posit, Lumaya was wrong about Jason Solo. But the One Sith decides to help Cadus in his war against the Confederation. They give Alema Rar a gift and send her back to the Galactic Alliance.
Darth Cadus arrives at Kashyyyk with the Fifth Fleet, demanding the Wookiees turn over his parents. When he doesn't receive an answer, Cadus decides to give the Wookiees a little push. This little push is that he orders his ships to bombard Kashyyyk, igniting the enormous forest fires across the planet. The bombardment pulls Confederation forces into the system. At the same time, Ben arrives and requests permission to land on the Anakin Solo. He meets Caedus on the bridge and tells his cousin that Cal Omis is dead. As the Battle of Kashyyyk begins, Caedus looks at Ben. Maybe his cousin is the best candidate to become his apprentice.
Jaina, Jag, and Zek arrive at Kashyyyk, and they immediately begin helping Luke, Leia, Han, and the Wookiees fight against the raging Inferno. Once the fires are under control, Luke decides it's time to stop his nephew. He and Jaina will lead the Jedi fighter squadron against the Anakin Solo, while Han and Leia travel to Hapes to ask Tenel Ka to pull her military support from Jacen.
Darth Caedus watches the battle unfold with Ben at his side. The two spot a small squadron of Wookiee fighters wind their way through the fighting, heading toward the Anakin Solo. The Wookiees fire on the Star Destroyer, weakening its shields. They eventually break through, and one of the Wookiees launches a bomb straight at the bridge, pulling Caedus' concentration away from the battle. Ben takes advantage of the distraction, ignites his lightsaber, and lunges at Caedus. But his cousin moves, and Ben's blade buries itself in the ship's captain instead. Just then, the bomb explodes, sending a rumble through the bridge. Ben tries to recover and attack his cousin again, but Caedus blasts the young Jedi with Sith lightning. Caedus stands over Ben, proud that his cousin has used his anger to attack the Dark Lord. Now it's time to teach his apprentice the importance of pain and suffering.
Leia and Han arrive on Hapes to speak with Tenel Ka, but they soon discover they're not alone. Tahiri is there too, with orders from Jacen to remind the Queen Mother about her pledge to support the Galactic Alliance. However, when the Solos arrive to parley with the Queen, Tahiri tries to arrest them. The Jedi's actions anger Tenel Ka. The Solos are emissaries of the Confederation and under diplomatic protection. Suddenly, Tahiri attacks, forcing Leia to ignite her blade and defend. Tahiri's actions enrage Tenel Ka. She calls for her guards, who quickly end the confrontation. The Queen Mother orders Tahiri to leave the Hapes cluster, and when she's gone, she tells Han and Leia that Hapes will end its support of the Galactic Alliance until Jacen is removed from power.
Meanwhile, Luke and Jaina lead the Jedi fighter squadron against the Anakin Solo. But with Luke in the middle of the fight, Darth Caedus decides it's time to eliminate his uncle and leads his own squadron into combat. Eventually, Caedus moves his X-Wing onto Luke's tail. He fires, damaging his uncle's engines. As Caedus moves in for the kill, Jaina arrives and fires on her brother from behind. Caedus can feel the rage radiating off of his sister. He anticipates Jaina's fire and pulls his stick to the left. Jaina's lasers zip past Caedus' fighter and converge on Luke. Jaina watches in horror as her uncle's X-Wing spins out of control. It slams into the Anakin Solo and explodes.
Darth Caedus returns to the Anakin Solo elated. Finally, Luke Skywalker, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, is dead. Caedus could feel Luke's life force wink out, and he knows that all the other Jedi felt it too. With Luke gone, the Jedi Order will fall into disorder, eliminating the biggest obstacle for Caedus to bring the galaxy to heel. He heads to his private chambers on the Star Destroyer, where he finds Ben right where he left him, hanging from the embrace of pain. Now it's time for your training to truly begin, Caedus tells his cousin. Your parents are gone, Ben. The pain and grief you feel will destroy you if you let it, but your hatred for me can make you strong. Use it. Ben raises his head and stares daggers at his cousin. You're wrong, Jacen, Ben says. Dad's not dead, and he's coming for you.
Right on cue, Luke appears behind Caedus, lightsaber in hand, and he's not there to pull Jason back from the dark side of the Force. Luke attacks, but Caedus has grown powerful. He blocks and forces his uncle back. The two masters trade blows, but neither really gain an advantage. Caedus prepares to attack again when suddenly his back explodes in agony. It's Ben. The young Jedi used his father's appearance to escape the embrace of pain and hurl his vibroblade, burying it in his cousin's back. Ben grabs his lightsaber and walks over to Caedus, intent on finishing him off. But Luke stops his son. "Not in anger, Ben," Luke says. "I can't lose you to the dark side." Luke and Ben leave Caedus on the floor of his office. They steal a shuttle and escape the Anakin Solo.
Caedus makes his way to the infirmary when he receives word that the Hapan fleet has arrived. Finally, he thinks. With Tenel Ka's support, Caedus will pound the Confederation forces, maybe even end the war. But Tenel Ka refuses to commit her ships. She calls the Anakin Solo. The Queen Mother says she will no longer support the Galactic Alliance in the war as long as Jason remains in power. It's another betrayal for Caedus. Without Tenel Ka, he's truly alone. Or is he? While the Hapans position their fleet to help the Confederation encircle the Anakin Solo, something strange happens. Some of the Bothan ships advance, opening up an escape vector. With everyone dumbfounded, Caedus takes advantage of the mistake and orders the Anakin Solo through the opening. The Star Destroyer jumps to light speed and escapes back to Coruscant.
After the battle, Tenel Ka and the Jedi meet with commanders of the Confederation fleet on the Dragon Queen. The Queen Mother says she still supports the Galactic Alliance, but she plans to pull her fleet back to Hapes until Jason is removed as co-chief of state. Luke says the Jedi will no longer support the Galactic Alliance, but they also refuse to change sides to the Confederation. Luke says the Jedi will focus on stopping Jason, or in the worst case, eliminate him. For their part, the Confederation commanders agree to leave the Hapans and the Jedi alone. The story ends with Luke and Ben returning to the infirmary to heal their wounds and mourn Mara's loss together.
Time to take a break. When we return, Scott and I will talk more about Inferno by Troy Denning. I'm Aaron Moats. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Star Wars Legends Lounge. Thank you for listening to the Star Wars Legends Lounge, where we celebrate the books from Star Wars Legends. But let me suggest a book from Star Wars canon. Force Collector is the story of Kar Nuke Sin, who's just a typical teenager, except whenever he touches an object, he receives a vision. His parents believe Kar is sick, but his grandmother has a different idea. She thinks Kar is touched by the Force. Kar runs off to find the truth about the Force and about the mysterious people called the Jedi. Will he learn the answers to his questions? Or will Kar be stopped by the First Order? Check out Force Collector by Kevin Shinnick. Welcome back to the Star Wars Legends Lounge, the show that celebrates the books from Star Wars Legends. I'm Aaron Moats, and today, Scott and I are discussing the Star Wars Legends novel Inferno by Troy Denning, book number 6 in the Legacy of the Force series. All right, Scott, first question I always ask every guest, what were your overall opinions about the book? What did you like? What didn't work for you?
I like the book. I've enjoyed, I think, every book of this series. I think I said last time, I'm not a huge fan of all the Mandalorian stuff. I feel like it gets in the way sometimes. It feels like the middle books of each triple set focuses on that more.
That's why I gave those books to Kat, because I know
Yes.
she's a big Mandalorian and, well, she's more of a clone fan. Both
Yes.
she and Jay like the Mandalorians, but
Yes.
that's why I gave those books to her, because she and I had read the Karen Travis series together, and I knew she would like those.
And I don't mean to disparage Karen Travis. I think she's a fantastic author. I just don't love the Boba Fett stuff. But I've loved all the books, and I love this one too. Um, you know, I last time talked about what are the Skywalkers doing, and I feel a sense of that here too, but with with a little more remorse and understanding. But I've loved all the books, and it does feel very much like these authors are trying to. I don't know what the sense was when they were writing them, but it feels like they're trying to pass the torch to this new generation a little bit and get the Lukes and the Maras and, well, Mara of course especially, but get the others kind of out of the way, right? And move on, right?
Anything in the book or this series as a whole that, when I say hasn't worked for you, hasn't worked for you to the point where you have an issue with it? I mean,
Mm.
just saying you aren't as interested in the Mandalorian stuff. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work for you. I mean, you understand it. You understand what
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
going for. Is anything been a bit of an issue? And it might be there hasn't been.
sometimes sometimes I feel like the amount of hurdles they ask Jason to clear to not understand how crazy he is are a little bit excessive. They do a pretty good job of explaining how he's getting to his rationalizations, but to a person as practiced in the arts of examining both sides of things, it's pretty weird for a guy to descend to this level without seeing the opposite side. They try real hard to get us there, and I think they do a pretty good job. But it's still, for what they set us up to believe that Jason is, and I am a Jason apologist, I guess, a little bit. I loved him in the Yuuzhan Vong series. It just feels like they're trying real hard to make us believe this could happen, if that makes sense.
Sure, it does. My pushback to that is you.
Don't know what happened in those 12
No,
years.
no, no, not that. It's something that you and I have spoken about. I've talked about it with Kat. I've talked about it with Jay.
Yep.
In the year that Jason was imprisoned by Vergere and the Yuuzhan Vong,
Yep.
something broke in
Yep.
him.
And they make that case.
Yes. Yeah. I think you are putting the Jason of the early parts of the New Jedi Order, when he was examining stuff so much that sometimes he wouldn't act at all.
Yep.
I think after his torture and imprisonment, I don't think that Jason exists anymore. I just don't.
I agree with that to a degree, but I think that would have been found out in the intervening 12 years, not now. It feels like if that were true, if it wasn't the real Jason then, and I don't know what happened then, you're right, I didn't read those books. I don't know.
Well,
But
nobody
it
knows.
feels like his family would have sensed that and known and seen that he's broken
Sure.
and changed that trajectory.
And
right?
it
So that's a
could just
problem
be,
for me.
right. It could just be because we didn't get stories in there other than the one trilogy, the Dark Nest trilogy. There were a couple of moments in that trilogy of stories where
Which
Luke,
you're not a fan of those, right? If I remember.
I'm not a fan of the books, but I'm just saying there were a couple moments in those stories where Luke, Leia, Han, Jaina look at Jason a different way.
Yeah.
And even they say, I don't really like where his head's at right now.
One of those things is not like the other.
Yeah. So they make one or two little allusions to it, but it's nothing like this series.
Yeah.
Like you're saying. So Okay, let's go into some of the specifics. Mara's funeral at the beginning. Jason he knows his parents are going to show up. I'm sure he has some contact still with the Jedi Order and knows that Leia has been called to say the eulogy.
Yeah.
And just decides, you know what? I don't care. They still have a warrant. I still have a warrant for their arrests. I'm arresting them. The funeral does not get off to a good start.
Listen, it's going to be rare that I say this on this episode, so I'll just get out of the way. I agree with Jason. If you know fugitives are showing up, go get them, right? Like, that seems logical to me. Of course, I don't. I was a Leia fan. I hate it.
Well, he knows he's got to do it outside the temple because he knows once they get inside the temple, there's no way his guards are going to be able to arrest them with all of these other Jedi masters around.
Oh, I don't know about that.
There's no way the Jedi allow him to do it.
Feels like the Jedi are pretty weak and subservient and not really stepping up to do anything right now.
I don't think there's any way they allow him to arrest them. I'm not saying they start a fight. I'm just saying I don't think there's any way they allow him to arrest them.
Well, what would
I think Saba would start a fight.
I think a fight would have been interesting to read, but I don't know, other than starting a fight, what they would have done, because Jason would have just taken them. Anyway, I don't fault Jason for trying it. Seems logical from his perspective. Seems like the right thing to do. They have a warrant. They're criminals. Go arrest them. Why not? So from that perspective, it makes sense. The rest of the funeral, though, if you want me to expound on that.
Sure. The notes you left, it sounds like you enjoyed reading a lot of that, particularly Saba almost trying to put Jason in his place.
Well, what we come from as a reader is the murder of what has... Please remember, listener, that I myself am a film watcher, not a Legends expert. I don't know a lot about Mara Jade. I've read the Yu Zhanvong series. I've read a few novels. I've read this series. But I've come to love her. And Legends fans certainly love her way more than I do.
Yes, and we, the readers, and Jason are the only ones that know who the actual murderer is at this point.
Correct. And for exactly that reason, this funeral is a great release for us, right? So it's wonderful to have Saba Sepetine deliver this. Her first part of the speech is just very solemn, and then Jason shows up, and it very quickly changes tone, right? She is unafraid and very willing to poke a nest that no one else will. That her culture and her upbringing allow her to just be very direct, and she is.
Being a hunter,
yes.
Everything we learn about her is she every thought she has, every instinct she has, it goes back to the fact that she comes from hunters. That is what her culture is.
Yes, this is what motivates her. This is what drives almost instinctually every interaction she has, right? This is not the time for such comments, rhetoric that we hear so often in our political climate. Saba she has no sense of that, right? So, and also I think Mara would approve. She'd absolutely approve of this message knowing what she knows. And I think Saba feels that too, a little bit. Feels that maybe in a Jedi way. She's laying out all of Jason's troubles and sins without really knowing them when laying out Mara's story. It's Mara's story. It's paralleling what Jason is actually going through right now. She succumbed to the dark side. She believed the dark beliefs. She was fed the lies and went with it. Jason is following that same path and can't see it. The whole time he's watching this and being like, oh my gosh, this is so disrespectful to me, the powerful Jason. How can she do this to me? She's just trying to show him and teach him. It's one of my favorite moments I've read in the series so far. I grinned ear to ear while reading it. A couple quotes um, in Mara's redemption from her dark side. All it took to lift the Emperor's veil from her eyes was a long walk in the forest with this man, referring to Luke Skywalker. And referring to Jason after the ceremony, when he's talking about the lessons or the speech that she gave, Saba says, "Good. This one only hopes you come to understand it as well." Saba gives a master class in guilt, guilt level learning that no one could ever surpass. Well done, Troy Denning, is, I guess, what I would say.
She holds a mirror up to Jason.
Yes.
That mirror being Mara's story.
Yep.
That's the mirror. And she shows Jason that there are two paths that he can take. He can take the path toward redemption that his aunt did, or he can continue down the path that he is walking now. And this eulogy comes right off the cuff.
Yeah.
And it is a masterclass
Yeah.
of describing what everyone in that funeral is thinking about the guy who just walked in his black suit and cape without explicitly shouting him out by name.
Yeah, I don't know about everyone. I think there are plenty of people that are completely unaware of all of this. But the Jedi, for sure, it feels like a unified angst against this person that has betrayed them to a degree. And Saba, like, man, listen, I'm a fifth-rate actor, and I would kill to be able to give a spur-of-the-moment speech like Saba gives here. It's amazing. She was not prepared to do it. Leia was supposed to do it, and Saba just kills it. It's one of my favorite moments of the entire series.
And it's a speech that a trained diplomat with decades of experience like Leia, you could see her delivering something like that.
Totally.
And Saba does it right off the cuff.
Yeah. And if Leia did it, I mean, I'm a Leia apologist. It would be better, but off the cuff. And you know what? More meaningful, because Saba's a master and can put Jason in his place more than Leia could. So maybe it's more impactful that Saba ended up doing it. I really do wonder what Leia would have said.
At the end of the previous story,
Yep.
after Jason kills Mara,
Yep.
it is described that Jason can feel something change in the Force, that Lumaya can feel something change in the Force, that Leia and Luke and Ben and all the Jedi can feel something change in the Force. I've always been curious as to why the Jedi can't sense this change about Jason when he walks into that funeral and all of these masters are around him. And it takes like 2 or 3 pages to describe it. It's not like it's only one sentence or two.
Yep.
But it's never really alluded to again in the series.
I guess so. I will admit that I haven't put as much thought into it or worry about it as you have. I would say that the change in the Force that they all felt was Mara leaving in a combination with Jason taking a step. And the step is felt, the change is felt, but they don't know what that shift means or how to identify it in a person or an action. They just know that the shift occurred. toward the dark side, toward an earnestness from an individual. It's more of like a feeling of a belief system shifting, right?
I can see that. And I'm not saying that maybe they can sense that Jason has taken a further step toward mastery of the dark side. I've always been curious as to why when he walks in at that moment that they don't sense that maybe he just feels different for some reason,
Well,
that would
yeah,
make
I
them curious.
it's a weird thing. It's something I struggle with a lot, Aaron. Actually, is like the Jedi are so powerful; they can feel so many shifts, and like in the Yuuzhan Vong War, they can feel the presence of an enemy everywhere with all these things, and yet they can't feel this. It feels very circumspect, the things they can and cannot feel. They've gone to immense lengths, pages and pages of lengths, to tell us that Jason can hide himself in the Force, that Ben can, that Luke apparently can, because, well, we'll get to that later, but that these people can just hide themselves in the Force. I presume he's good enough at hiding his emotions, and they all are, that they shouldn't ever trust anyone's emotions if they're Jedi. No Jedi should ever be in contact with another Jedi and be like, I trust their emotions, because it seems like they can all hide them really well.
Well, Saba lets hers. Hers are right there on the surface. She doesn't
Oh
hide
yeah,
hers for
she's
nothing.
not. No, good for her. Let's go Saba.
Exactly. All right, so the story begins. Darth Caedus uses one of the other Force techniques that he had learned
Yeah.
while Jason Solo was searching the galaxy, and he learned a technique that allows his presence to flow walk into the past
Yep.
so that he can see things again. But those things happened, and he tells Tahiri Vela, who he takes her Force presence back to the past as well. He tells her, you cannot change these things. And he's using Tahiri's grief, even though it's, what now, 11 years on? 12 years on from
And
when.
sometimes, Aaron, sometimes you fall hard.
Absolutely. From when Anakin sacrificed himself back in the Yuuzhan Vong War.
Yep.
Because with Mara's death, Ben, at the beginning of this book, has abandoned him. He thinks Ben is lost forever.
Yep.
From being his apprentice.
As an apprentice.
Right, as an apprentice. And rather than look elsewhere, rather than cast a wide net, this is one of the instances, one of the many actually, but one of the instances where I think Jason is pretty short-sighted. He just looks
Agreed.
for the nearest convenient person that can be his apprentice. Would you agree with, my way of thinking here?
Yes. I mean, Tahiri in general, the only thing that makes her a good candidate is the leverage he has over her with this flow walking.
Right.
That in and of itself lends itself to your argument. What you said is that he's looking for convenience rather than good fit, right? Like if he were patient, the way somebody should be, which somebody in a war sometimes cannot be, right? He would look for somebody better.
I don't think at this point in time Jason has to even look to take an apprentice. He could
Sure.
wait. In theory, he
Why do
could
you
wait
need one?
5-10 years down the road
Yeah,
to
sure.
find a better candidate.
Yeah, what are they gonna? You can't send a different emissary to do this that is not a Sith apprentice. Yeah, find somebody else. What are you trying to fulfill? What are you trying to do? How long did Sidious not have an apprentice? Or I really actually don't know the answer to that. But like, yeah, you don't need one right now.
he had various apprentices,
Yeah.
but he knew, well, he presumed all along that eventually he would find a more worthy apprentice and a more worthy apprentice, and he was willing twice
That's
to just
the Sith
let
way.
his previous apprentices go.
Well, that's the Sith way. Until there's one better than me, keep replacing them.
And maybe that's what this is.
Yeah,
Maybe,
maybe.
like I said, Tahiri is an apprentice of convenience. And honestly, even when Jason is talking about Tahiri, it sounds like he doesn't even really believe that she's going to be a good apprentice.
Totally. Seems totally just willing to just let her see if it works out. I need somebody to be my emissary. Let's see if you work out. It's like an internship.
Because the Knots told me that I
Yes.
needed an apprentice.
Yes, exactly. The knots, which nobody understands. Yeah, I feel like, man, just like Jason's, Cadis's willingness to dominate has overtaken his wisdom to a degree that like he's just not making really any decisions well. Maybe like battle decisions, but like
Right.
his wisdom is screwed.
So he takes advantage of Tahiri. Flo walks her back to Anakin. It says that Tahiri actually pushes her former self into a kiss with Anakin really quickly. Now, I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to time travel in stories.
Yeah.
I have never liked it unless it's in just a fun, almost
Contained.
comedic story. I mean, Back to the Future, fine. Absolutely. It's a great movie. It just is.
Yep.
And I'm fine with it that way. But when it's in what is supposed to be a serious story, when it's supposed to have
galactically expansive, epic.
serious consequences, I've just never enjoyed it. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time with the flow walking.
Sure.
I am glad that it doesn't really come up much. It's really just one or two or three times in this series with the flow walking, and that's about it. And I'm actually glad of that, because it's not something that I enjoy. I find it more problematic in the storytelling than normally what it's used for.
Yeah, I agree. I don't generally, especially I don't like when you can go into the past and change stuff. If you're observing something, Scrooge style, okay. If you can push yourself into a kiss that's going to like change everyone's perspective about whatever, that seems bad and weird. And it seems like if you can really do that, it seems like Cadis could do this a lot more effectively. Everything he's trying to do by, pushing someone over a cliff, so that they're not in charge of the government they're in charge of or something, right? Like everything's off the table at that point, or on the table at that point, if that's allowed. So I don't love it. I tend to go with always in motion the future is from Yoda, and I don't like being able to like manipulate the past, because that's absolutely going to change the future. And now you've unwritten all the hundreds and thousands of pages that people have written about this series. But I did want to know, Aaron, and I wrote this question down. I hope you want to address it, because I'm curious if this flow walking is this like similar or the same thing they're trying to show in Rebels with the bridges that they walk through and go to different memories and stuff.
The World Between Worlds. Is that the
same thing? Yeah. Is that the same thing, or is that different?
So the World Between Worlds is different, according to Dave Filoni. He and George saw it as basically a place for Force users to look upon other experiences to gain knowledge. That's what they looked at it as.
But also they change it.
Well, I will say, when we first saw The World Between Worlds, the very first time, the name of that episode was it season 4, episode like 12 or 13 of Rebels. Yeah. And the first thing that happens, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Rebels, if you don't want to hear anything, go forward about 2 or 3 minutes. The first thing that happens is Ezra reaches in and pulls Ahsoka out from her duel with Vader. And I will tell you, as someone who watched Rebels when it aired live, that happens right before the commercial break. And then there's a commercial exactly after that. When that happened, that was one of the very few things in Star Wars that actually made me angry. It just did. However, when it came back from commercial break, and then you see Ezra say, wow, I saved you, I can go save Kanan. And he runs over there to relive the moment where Kanan sacrificed himself.
Yep.
And Ahsoka stops him and says, look, this is Kanan's moment. This is his decision to help you. And if you pull him out of this moment, you save Kanan, but you and Hera and Sabine are all going to die. And any good that you guys can do from here on out will die with you. And it stops him. My anger lessened there. And I was like, okay, if this is how we're going to use this, I'm fine with it. I'm still angry and upset a little bit. Call me a bit of a cynic. I wish Filoni would have figured out a way for Ahsoka to survive that duel without Ezra reaching back into the past and pulling her out. And I know people have tried to explain it to me left and right, but Ezra always was the one who reached back into the past. To me, he reached into the past. He changed something that was going to happen.
Yep.
I wish it wouldn't have happened. But if they're going to use the world between worlds going forward, like they did there in the second part of the episode for Rebels, and in the way they used it in the Ahsoka television show, as a way for Jedi or other Force users to learn lessons
from each other,
that I'm fine with. I think I'm fine with that.
Well, that's just Force Ghost. That's just like Force Ghost.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
way
for the stuff. Force to show you the information you need at that point in time.
That's so. I don't hate Force Ghosts displaying information, and this happens.
I don't hate Force Ghosts.
Yeah, this happens in this book with Mara trying to deliver a message.
Correct.
Through her body, going to the Force.
Yes.
And I like that. It's an interesting part of the universe. Going into the past and yanking things out or in and changing it. I've always hated that, Star Wars or otherwise, in any sci-fi franchise. I hate it. So
and we know Star Wars is more science fantasy.
Yeah,
George envisioned it than science fiction.
Yep.
But time travel has always been a big thing in many science fiction properties. I mean, I enjoy Star Trek. I'm not going to say it's my favorite, because it's not, and I haven't seen all of it, but I do enjoy Star Trek. One thing they do a lot, way more than I wish they would, is go back in time.
Yeah.
They do it a lot in Star Trek.
It's one of the reasons I don't watch more of it. Yeah. So the question for you that I posed in my notes is flow walking similar to what we saw in Rebels with the bridges, the world between worlds is what you call it. Not really. Different.
I don't think so. I mean,
similar effects though.
Similar effects.
You can have this. You can. Tahiri pushed her former self into kissing someone. Jaina could have seen that, and it could have affected.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything. Like it could have butterfly effect. It could have changed everything, right?
Yeah, I will say at least the way Tahiri affected the past was extremely minute. At least it was very minute. And it was right before Anakin was going to die anyway. He was already mortally wounded. There was no saving him at that point. He was just telling Tahiri goodbye.
Yep.
And it could be that younger Tahiri was so grief-stricken at that moment, there's no way she would have registered like a small palm on her back, because they were pretty close to each other, just sort of nudging her forward. Yeah, the bigger danger would have been if one of the other Jedi that were on the mission at that point in time would have seen some sort of ethereal force
A
ghosty
weird
type
nudge
thing.
pushing that back.
Yeah, exactly. Someone doing that.
Right. That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
But okay.
Listener, we're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, Scott and I will finish up our discussion on Inferno by Troy Denning. I'm Aaron Motes. You're listening to the Star Wars Legends Lounge. Thank you for listening to the Star Wars Legends Lounge, where we celebrate the books from Star Wars Legends. But allow me to recommend a book from Star Wars canon. Catalyst, a Rogue One novel, is the story of Galen Erso, Orson Krennic, and the construction of the first Death Star. It's a story of intrigue, betrayal, and how a friendship can be destroyed. An essential story leading up to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Check out Catalyst, a Rogue One novel by James Luceno. All right, let's head into the person that Cadus wishes was his apprentice, and that's Ben. Mm-hmm. Ben believes that his cousin killed his mother. Ben is using his investigative skills that he has learned as a member of the GAG to think rationally about Jason showing up while Ben is in the cave with his mother's body. How did Jason know I was there? After the funeral, he confronts his cousin. Mm-hmm. He actually comes out and just says it. Did you kill Mom? Jason says, no, I didn't. He knows Ben doesn't believe him. But he says, you know what? I think Cal Omas had her killed. We have half of a conversation. We don't know who the former chief of state was talking to on the other side, but we have his part of the conversation. And he sends Ben off to confront the former chief of state. What are your opinions on those scenes? One, with Ben and Jason, and two, with Ben confronting Cal Omas and the former chief of state sacrificing himself for Ben just sort of on a whim?
Yeah. So, first of all, seems a little bit reckless from Ben, but also a little bit admirable too. Just going right at the source. Did you do it? Let me read you. Let's see. But he should have known. Jason is a master of deception and can hide all that stuff. And, he should have known, I guess, that he wouldn't get much from it. But he did get something. He got a lead to go talk to Cal Omas and did so. And
he knows his cousin. He actually tells Cal when he gets there, my cousin's coming for you.
Yeah.
He sent me to kill you. I know you didn't do it.
Yeah.
But if he's sending me, when I don't kill you, he's going to send somebody else. And I think that's why, when he says that, I think that's why the former chief of state says, well, then you have to be the one who kills me.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised that Ben didn't, pursue it a little. Okay, let's see if that recording is real. But it feels like Ben has just kind of known all along that Jason did it. It's just in his guts. He just knows it, right? He doesn't have the proof or whatever, but he just kind of knows it. So he went into this meeting with Cal pretty much ready to just say, I know you didn't do it. And, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy in the Yuuzhan Vong series that was chief of state, the little guy that just blew himself up and destroyed a whole...
Oh, you mean Borsk? Borsk Phalia?
Borsk, yes. Yes, that guy. These guys, as dirty and slimy and greasy and political as they are, they've still really got the guts inside them, to serve the alliance, and you can see it here with Omas. He's like, no, it's got to be you. You're the only one that can do this. My life is done. Take it. Take the torch. Go do it. Right?
And I think the explanation that Omas gives is Jason sent you to kill me. If you don't, then Jason knows he can never trust you again. No one else is going to get close enough to take Jason out.
Yep.
So you have to kill me. That way Jason will bring you back onto his side and allow you to get close enough to him.
Correct. And still, Jason barely does. Ben goes back, and Jason's like, what are you doing here? I expect you to assassinate me any second.
But he does say those thoughts are good for a
Yes.
Sith apprentice.
Correct. I hope you do. I hope you do assassinate me any second. Yeah.
Ben returns after, quote unquote, killing Omas.
Yeah.
When Jason's attention is pulled away, he attacks. He tries to take his cousin out. And it's not like he was trying to just wound him. He's actually trying to kill his cousin and stop him. It surprises Jason for just a moment. He's able to dodge. But in his twisted mind, he thinks this is an admirable trait for a prospective apprentice.
Yeah. Yeah, I reread this scene before we recorded because I wanted to remember how it went. He's actually running Ben down in his mind like, this guy's weak, he's terrible, he can't do it. Because he notices several moments where Ben could attack him and doesn't. And he's like, man, this guy's weak.
I had my back turned there.
Yeah,
I was talking to
right now.
the captain
It would have
here.
never been a better time. Yeah, exactly. All those things. And eventually Ben finally does it. And I guess it just is meant to prove how hard it is to surprise a Sith, because it feels like that would have worked, right? But yeah, he fails to kill him, and Jason is happy that he tried. Which is weird.
After Ben is unsuccessful.
Yep.
And now, see, this is where I think, and I'm not the only one who thinks this, but this is where Jason's journey to the dark side began, with the embrace of pain, back on the when he was captured by the Yuuzhan Vong.
I thought you meant right now. Like,
no,
dude,
no.
Yeah.
It began with the torture.
Ago. Yeah.
In the embrace of pain.
Yep.
So he thinks this is a good spot for Ben to start.
Yeah.
His training.
Yeah.
I will admit, I was a little surprised that the embrace of pain came back. Just because I don't know, how would that work now? Did Jason save some sort of Yuuzhan Vong organic technology, or is this just something that he has made to sort of do the same thing as the embrace of pain?
To reflect, or I understand what you mean. I think it's meant to show us that he never left it behind. I think it's meant to show us that he thinks this is the way to build someone up, by breaking them down. And I think it's, I mean, there probably isn't any, but if anyone is harboring any sort of, good feelings towards Jason, it's meant to remind us or show us that this is who he now is. He didn't ever leave that behind. He never broke free of it. And he's now repeating it, which victims do. This is what victims of abuse which Jason is, this is what they do. They repeat abuse upon others. And he's doing that.
If they don't get some sort of help.
Yes, of course, sure. There are, yes, bright clouds and rainbows. There are solutions out there, of course. I just mean if you don't solve those problems, this is what happens.
While Jason is torturing Ben, Luke comes to save his son.
Yeah.
Before we get to that scene, you had a question about how Luke got there. Go ahead. You want to ask that? I'm sure some of the listeners have the same question.
So what happened to me in my brain is Luke was in a dogfight where it was pretty clear to me in the narrative that he was messing around. He did not ever feel threatened. He was good. He was jinking. He was, jiving. He was fine. Then Jason got involved. Jaina shot him from behind. Jason hit him once, I think. Jaina shot him from behind, meaning to hit Jason, and hit him. And the way it's described in the book is like he exploded.
Okay, so I have a theory.
Okay.
One part of it is you just have to
believe that Luke is amazing.
Belay, the disbelief that Luke at this point in time can do basically miraculous things.
Which I believe, because they've shown him do a lot of miraculous things for years.
It does talk about earlier in the series how Ben showed Mara how to shut herself off in the Force.
Yep.
To where people could not locate her or feel her anymore.
Yep.
And then Mara does the same thing for Luke. Mara shows Luke how to do it.
I don't have any doubts about that part.
Right. My theory is that as Luke is going down, he ejects, but using his tremendous Jedi reflexes, he can wait until just before he explodes and hits the hull and shuts himself off from the Force right as he ejects. That's my theory.
And propels himself toward some part of a ship that.
Well, I think he lands on the hull, probably uses his lightsaber to cut in to the hull, and that's how he gets in. That's the best I can come up with.
No, it's good. It's just like, why not tell us that? Why not give us that?
I think one of the other things might just be that the mystery is fun. It adds to Luke's mystique, maybe.
Man, Luke's mystique is like way up here already for me. I'd like to just know how he did it. For me,
that's fine.
But
I think you and I are a little. I think you and I are a little too analytical anyway. But
well, yeah, I've been accused of that before. But I get it. I like your explanation. I think it makes sense. He ejected. He propelled himself toward the hole, got himself in somehow. Fine, okay. I totally understand the hiding yourself in the Force stuff. Of course, Jason has been doing it all the time. Ben learned it. Mara knew it. I feel like every Jedi probably could do it if they tried hard enough, right? So it's fine.
So, if Saba's eulogy was your favorite scene in this story, is the Luke-Jason lightsaber fight a close second?
Aaron, has anyone ever told you that you're a great host? Because listen, that's a hard question. Because this lightsaber fight I loved. I felt like it was so well done. I could understand what was happening every moment, every thrust, every parry, every little use of chicanery to try to get an advantage. I felt like I understood it all and felt it. I loved this lightsaber fight. But
it's cinematic. You can kind of, like you're saying, you can see it in your mind's eye.
I can.
What is happening?
I feel like, I'll just say it. I think Troy is the best at that part. I don't know about space battles, but like lightsaber battles, Troy, I think, is the best at this. But
of the authors you've read, let's caveat that.
Yes, of the authors I've read, Yeah. Well, Claudia Gray is my favorite. I don't even know if she can do lightsaber battles, but she's my favorite. Period. But I feel like, man, I'm a at my heart, Aaron. I'm an actor, and I would love to stand at a lectern and give a lecture at a guilty party the way Saba does. And so that is still my favorite scene, despite how much I love that lightsaber battle.
I liked how visceral it seemed.
Very
In
much.
a story between space wizards who use laser swords, we all know this is a fantasy. But when I read or when I watch confrontations, fights, actual battles,
Yep.
I enjoy more the ones that are realistic, visceral, like down in the muck
Yeah.
fights where two people are trying to end each other.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy. And you're right. That's what this one was.
Totally. And
This was not Luke trying to bring his nephew back to the light.
Luke was prepared to end it. I'm not sure Luke was actually prepared to end it.
No. You're right about that. Now, I'm not saying this was Luke trying to bring Jason back to the light side of the Force, but I also agree with you that Luke was not ready to take that last step.
I don't think he would have. I still think he would have
Jason.
held back just like he made Ben do. Yeah.
So that was the part I was going to ask you about. Stopping Ben from doing it, because it sounds like Ben was going to take that last step. What did you think of that part of the scene?
I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of people angry at me. I don't know what it takes to turn to the dark side. To me, I guess as a soccer player at heart, when you got that finishing strike, you can put your opponent away. You do it. I don't know. I don't know as Luke. I guess just to put it plainly, I don't know what it really takes to turn someone to the dark side. Right? Okay, Ben, you don't do it. Let me do it. I know that it's not out of anger, it's out of duty or service or preserving life or whatever. Let me do it. Okay, then let him do it. We gotta not end this guy just because we want two more books, or like what are we talking about here? Like let's end the threat right now instead of walking away. We got him right here. Let's do it. They're going to be agonizing about this for 3 books. How to do it? You could have just done it. So, out of anger, I don't know. Out of justice, I don't. Ben certainly was angry, for sure. Luke has a lot of complex feelings. None of it make the act wrong.
Luke was pretty angry when he saw his son in the embrace of pain.
Okay. Again, unpopular. I'm not sure doing things out of anger is necessarily wrong. Lots of times it is.
I'm not debating you on that point. I'm just saying that in this story, with the way Luke is talking,
yes,
he was also angry. Yes.
Yeah, they're both angry. They don't want to kill people when they're angry. I guess I'm saying, you know what? Maybe killing people when you're angry is okay given the circumstances. If you are so susceptible to the dark side that killing one person out of anger is going to bring you there, where were you to begin with?
That's an interesting question. Before we start to wrap up here, the B plot, and the reason I pushed it off to the end is, we talk about all these stories have an A plot, they all have a B plot, a lot of them have a C plot. I think this story in particular, the B plot is the weakest of the series. It's a bit of a throwaway plot. It's
Yeah.
mostly got to do with Jaina, Zek, and Jag chasing Alima Rar. I don't know
Agreed.
how much we really have to talk about it, but I do think I should ask what you thought of that storyline.
Thought it was a waste of time.
I don't know if I'd go that
thought.
far, but I agree with the sentiment.
I mean, it meant. I guess, like from a broader spectrum, it showed how far Jason was willing to go to threaten younglings and the future of the Jedi Order with his rule, right? But in general, it just felt like let's keep Zek and Jaina and Jag busy for the book and not let them do much until Jaina came and I mean, we don't get Jag and Zek, I don't think, in the last space battle, but Jaina does. She
Well,
shoots
Zek
her.
does join the Jedi Squadron that goes up
Okay,
there.
maybe I
Yeah.
missed it. Yeah, or forgot it probably. But yeah, it felt like a pretty weak B plot. I mean, I care about the younglings. Don't get me wrong. I want them to live, but like that plot didn't really matter.
Yeah. I don't think I'll follow you down that path, but I do see where you're going. I just want to say that I think of, so this is book number 6 that we have covered here
Yeah.
on the show.
Yep.
Of these 6 books, I think this is the weakest B plot of
Yes.
any of the other books.
100%.
Yeah.
There isn't one. I'm Leia's not number 1. I'm Leia's number 98 fanboy. I love Leia. I can't even talk about her in this book. Like she didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't get a chance to speak with the Wookiees on Kashyyyk.
Well, she did that weird stage rap battle, and then she went off to Hapes to talk to Tenel Ka.
Yeah.
But like they didn't, it didn't really amount to much of anything.
Yeah, Han and Leia were not used nearly as much in this book as they were in some of the others.
It's okay. It was a strong book still. I enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
the A plot was really good. I thought they managed the pace really well. I thought, everything I read I really enjoyed, but the Hans and Leia's, they didn't do a lot.
Well, you mentioned at the beginning of the series, at the beginning of this conversation, though, it does seem like this series is moving that generation out, and the next generation coming in is going to take over the lead of the saga moving forward.
Yeah, so I hope it's Ben because we didn't get a lot of Jaina or anybody else young in this book with the B plot, like you're saying.
True. What I remember, we get more of Jaina in the last 3 stories of this.
Well, I'm excited for that then.
Yeah. So, well, listener, it's just about time to go. Scott and I have bent your ear for quite a ways in this episode. This is probably the longest episode I've done about a book.
I'm sorry.
We had our roundtable episodes that were longer, but about a book, I think it's probably a record. However, before Scott and I hang up here, we have another character group to share with everyone. Now, we've received a lot of baseball teams lately here on the show, but Scott and I, as you heard at the beginning of the show, are big soccer fans, and I recently received a Star Wars soccer team from friend of the show, Ugo, who sent his team in, made up only of non-Force users, Scott. Non-Force users on this team.
I love it. Feels like he listened to our previous episode.
Yeah.
We're like, Force users are not fair.
No, it's a cheat.
Yeah, it's totally cheating. Yeah.
Scott, will you share with the listeners Ugo's soccer team?
So Ugo says he's playing a 3-2-3-2 format. As I played when I was growing, it was always like 4-4-2 with a sweeper. But that doesn't work when you get to higher levels. You can't have a sweeper. But anyway, Ugo says goalkeeper, General Grievous, forearms, obvious selection. I agree, Ugo. Good
Absolutely.
choice.
I mean, the only 2 choices for goalkeeper would be, or I guess 3. You could have Grievous, You could have, oh, what's his name from your movie Attack of the Clones, the diner owner.
Dex.
Yeah, why was Dexter Jexter? I don't know
All of
why
a
his name
sudden,
was.
that's my movie?
Well,
It's
you like
my
Attack of the
movie?
Clones. I'm not
I
as
do
big a
like
fan.
Attack of the
You
Clones. I'm
like
going to watch it
more than I
tonight
do.
now.
I don't know why I
Because
couldn't
of
remember Dexter Jexter's name there for a second. So it'd be Grievous, Dexter Jetster, or Chewie, just because of his size. Yeah, those would be your three goalies.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice. I just want to say, most of the reason I like Dex from that movie is because of the way that that Obi-Wan says Dex when he's surprised. Like, what, really, Dex? When he's like surprised. I love that delivery. Anyway.
Sorry, Ugo, we interrupted your thing. General
Yes.
Grievous, yes, great
General
choice
Grievous,
for
good
goalkeeper.
choice. Okay, defense. So you mentioned Chewie. Chewie is one of Ugo's picks for defense. He's going again with a 3-2-3-2 formation, so it's just three center backs: Bosk, Nominor, and Chewie. No one's going to get by them. I agree. They're a good. If you're going with a three-back formation, I think those are good choices. Nominor was freaking terrifying. Bosk with those long limbs, I think that.
So you definitely got the size with Chewie and Bosk.
Yes. I hope they're agile enough. If you had the right, listen, if you got Spain circa 2009, you're screwed because their quickness will chop you up.
Yeah. Hopefully, the blood feuds between Trandoshans and Wookiees don't come into play back there.
That's true.
And hopefully they can play well together.
You got Nominor in between, right? You got to, right?
Wow,
Keep
we got him
separate.
keeping the peace.
Yeah. What the Yuuzhan Vong are known for. Yeah. Central midfield, double pivot, Grand Admiral Thrawn and Admiral Akbar. They both know when to start an attack and how to move quickly from attacking formation to defensive formation. I like that idea. These are two commanders. They can quickly shift between attack and defense. I like it.
Yep. Ugo says that Thrawn is the team captain right there at the base of the double pivot.
Yeah, I like that. Attacking midfielders, Lando, Wedge, and Han. He notes Wedge, the fake nine, false nine, knows how to create space. And Han is a risk taker. They're all really risk takers and know how to move according to circumstances. I would say, just myself, I would say this is too much risk in your attacking midfield. You need a little bit more safety because all these guys are going to gamble. Wedge maybe a little less, but they're all going to gamble, right?
But that's not your team. This is Ugo's team.
Sure, it's Ugo's team. I'm just offering perspective. You're right. Strikers. Boba Fett and Darik Larone, one of the stormtroopers from the Hand of Judgment. I don't know that guy. I might have pronounced it wrong. But
he basically the sharpshooter of the group, the sniper of the group.
And Boba Fett's a sharpshooter too. I think what he's getting at is you got these chance takers in attacking midfield. They're going to just create balls in the box that these two snipers can finish. And finishing is what they do best. I love it, Ugo. Good job.
Yep. Excellent work, Ugo. Scott, you put a joke in here.
I did.
Go ahead. Let the listeners know. Let the listeners hear it.
I think Akbar is going to be on the defensive side, and he's going to yell frequently, "It's an offside trap!" And hope that Chewie and Nominor and everyone just respond and pull people offside. I hope.
Well, listener, you heard it. I will not comment on the quality of that joke.
Oh, come on. It's a good joke. It's an offside trap.
Ugo, thank you very much for sharing your Star Wars character group with us today. Listener, if you have one that you'd like to share, or if you have a question, opinion, comment, concern, if you disagree with something I've said on the show, you can send me an email at swlegendslounge@gmail.com or send a message on Blue Sky, Instagram, or Twitter at swlegendslounge. Scott, it's time to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Dude, thank you for having me. I have so much fun when I talk to you about this stuff. I really do.
It's a release for you. You don't have anyone else to talk about it with.
I don't. I just work all day and then do nothing. So I love it. Thank you.
And
very
your wife
much.
and kids don't want to hear about these Star Wars books.
They don't want to hear from me at all.
Exactly. Well, folks, coming up on the next episode, Jay returns to talk about book number 7 in the Legacy of the Force series, Fury by Aaron Alston. Join us for that episode coming out on November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving here in the United States. Listener, thank you so much for tuning in to the Star Wars Legends Lounge today. I'm Aaron Motes. May the Force be with you. And remember, there's always a bit of truth in Legends.